you've published two books, and one of them that heavily features kelp, Pacific Feast: A Cook's Guide to West Coast and Foraging and Cuisine. What guided you to this, to foraging, to kelp, to all of this?
Well, that is a question that goes way back in terms of its answer. And
Let's go back.
let's go back. So I was raised by an adventurous father. And, the short of it is that I lost my mother when I was a kid, and my father raised four children, two of them girls, two of them boys, and raised us all like boys. And so we all learned to fish. And he wasn't the hunter, so we didn't learn to hunt, but we learned to build houses and weld and all those kinds of things. And so he felt like travel was the best education he could give us kids. So we would go to Maine and we'd pick blueberries. We'd eat what the locals were eating. We'd go to Yellowstone. We'd catch trout. We'd go to Washington. We lived in Wisconsin, so we did all this with our Volkswagen Bug camping. But we'd go to Washington and we dig, oh golly, what are they called? The clams that live in the surf. Suddenly I'm like not remembering what those clams are.
It's okay. I'm still picturing dad and the four kids in the bug.
Yeah, dad and the four kids and the bugs and in the bug with the bugs. And we'd go up to Alaska and we'd harvest wild vegetables, etc. So I had an association of wild food, or what are also traditional foods, with these incredibly adventurous family vacations. And eventually with this kind of upbringing, wanted to spend more time in nature alone. So I decided I was going to kayak down from Alaska solo, spend a lot of time in the wilderness. And of course, this is after years of running a kayak expedition company and kayaking. I wasn't a greenhorn by any means. And I realized the risks, but I also realized that to kayak these big chunks of the coast is to carry a lot of food. And if I could supplement my dry stores with things that I foraged, then the kayak would be lighter and I'd have fresh fruits and vegetables. So as I came down the Inside Passage, I harvested a lot of seaweed. I ate nori seaweed, one that's called alaria or ribbon kelp. I harvested bullwhip kelp, saccharina or sugar kelp. But my favorite was nori because it's loaded with protein and you pluck it right off the cliffs and you could feel that kind of supercharged mineral and protein kind of boost after just 15 minutes.
Very cool.
And then I started to meet elders on the Inside Passage that also were harvesting seaweed and were sharing how they were doing it. And with time, through my kayak company, I taught a lot of seaweed workshops. We'd go out for an extended weekend and we'd harvest and cook an 8-course meal. We'd start with a seaweed salad. We'd end with a seaweed thickened chocolate ocean pudding that was inside a clamshell with a nut crust and wild berries on top. So
you're not actively promoting the book right now, but what you just described, you get a whole lot of that in Jenny's book.
Well, I tell people, if you ever serve that dessert to someone on a camp trip, they're going to fall in love with you. So just be very careful. It's like a love tonic, that chocolate ocean pudding. Yeah. So I just seemed to wrap seaweed into my life over and over again. And with time, after Pacific Feast came out, one of my cousins who worked for the Jamestown Sklallam tribe said, "Hey, cousin, come on over and teach a workshop." And that was where the workshops took off.